And you should get a little red circle in the top right.
It's flashing now.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Leon. You're dyslexic, and you've done loads and loads of work for achievability with all your workshops in schools and colleges, and a lot of it has been about technology. Can you tell us about the preferred methods that you use in terms of technology?
YouTube is really useful for learning different techniques, or finding out different techniques or research in different areas. So, for instance, one of the workshops I was doing, we used bleach. A friend of mine told me about a guy who uses bleach to discolour photographs and how to control it. So I tried to find out how he did that, and I just looked on YouTube to search for his name on YouTube. There were some videos. It showed you exactly what he was doing, so it only took me a couple of minutes to kind of work out the process that he did. But if that was like written down in a document, it would take me a lot longer to work out exactly what was going on and how it was being done. So seeing the process visually really helps.
So you do a lot of using film for research then. Do you use it for anything else?
I mean, it's useful to give information to people, so you can show people an idea. Like I have an exhibition, you can put videos there about what's kind of how the exhibition looked, and maybe try and explain your ideas about what you're trying to show in the exhibition a bit easier when you kind of create a little story around the kind of work you were doing in your exhibition.
I always think you're very technological. Is that the right word, Leon? And you always have these gadgets about you. So what is your preferred gadget that really helps you in your day-to-day living?
I mean, I suppose it's quite handy having the iPhone, because then whenever emails or text messages come in, you can deal with them straight away. I suppose before it was always a bit tricky writing emails, because it meant I had to go to a computer, sit down, and then go through a long list of the things that had come in today, which is always a little bit confusing for me. I don't kind of get to grasp it very easily when you see 30 or 40 emails. You're not quite sure, which ones you need to attack first and which ones are more important. But with the iPhone, when they come in, the smartphone, when they come in, you can just deal with them immediately. As soon as you get a message, you can just do something about it, either delete it or reply, or just ignore it, and then you deal with things kind of on a step by step, rather than trying to approach things as a big batch, which I found a lot easier. And also with the calendar, I find it a little bit easier to manage my time when I've got things in there and I can kind of look every so often. But I still find having a plan, like if say a month all on one sheet of paper is still easier for me to kind of manage my time, because I can see exactly what's happening and the kind of time frame between each thing that's going on.
You're very visual. I mean, that's no surprise. You're a photographer and filmmaker, but film is about oral information. Is there anything particularly that you can tell people about that you find is very helpful in terms of technology for oral information, apart from film?
You mean just like people talking, or like? I mean, I suppose audiobooks are really helpful. I've got a few audiobooks on my phone or on my computer as well, and they're quite easy to then. With the problem with reading, it's a lot easier to kind of digest the information when you can hear it, and you can hear it a few times rather than trying to read it, because you're kind of you're having to go at the pace of the person who's reading. Whereas I find that if I'm reading myself, I'll end up reading over a line a few times, and then it takes me a long time to get through a whole book. But with an audio book, you just have to listen to 4 hours or 8 hours worth of stuff, and you can kind of try and digest it that way, which I find a lot easier.
Is there any sort of downloadable software that you think is really helpful to dyslexic people that you've come across, free stuff?
I haven't really downloaded anything for my dyslexia, I suppose. Hmm.
I mean, I know that I find it really useful, Google search, and so, you know, things like Google Map and
Oh.
when I'm just trying to look for things.
Ah,
I
okay.
find the internet really, really helpful.
Hmm.
It's so quick and, again, intuitive.
Hmm. I mean, yeah. I mean, Google Maps is really handy way of kind of getting a grasp of where you are in the kind of in your kind of world or in your vicinity, so you can kind of relate yourself in relation to where you need to go to, and where you might need to go to next, so you can kind of work out visually a kind of route. Whereas I suppose before, if you had like an A to Z or something, although you could see on one page what was going on, but then if you had to switch over for a few pages, it's not so easy to kind of get a grasp of where you're going and where you're coming from, as easy as it is with Google Maps. Can I think of anything else? I can't think of anything else.
That's okay. Got any top tips, Leon? Any
Top tip?
tips, yeah.
I suppose if you're having to do a lot of learning and like there's lectures and things, it's probably a good idea to try and sound record it so you can play them back to you at a later date. Because whenever I'm listening to someone talking in a lecture or something, it's quite easy to listen to what they're saying and kind of follow what they're doing. But I find it very difficult to take notes about, to kind of summarise what's actually going on. I find it easier to kind of take the whole thing as like one whole, and then you kind of get a better picture of what's going on. But it's easy to forget, so it's good to like do a sound recording of lectures and things, so you always have a record of it. You can just listen to it later when you're like on the train or walking somewhere.